Hello, welcome back to SSL TLS. This is episode 22 and I am Saravanan learning along with you. So, if you look at in the last episode, I mentioned that in the last episode we talked about the Diffie-Hellman key exchange, right? We talked about a numerical example of Diffie-Hellman key exchange. At that time I told you in a historic paper published in the year 1976, both Whitfield Diffie and Martin Hellman, they invented something which is revolutionary in the history of cryptography called public key cryptography. On the same paper, they also introduced for the very first time what is called a Diffie-Hellman key exchange. Okay. In the last episode, I forgot to tell the name of the paper, so it is the New Directions in Cryptography, published in the year 1976, where they invented the public key cryptography. In the last episode, we also saw about a numerical example of Diffie-Hellman key exchange, right? If you remember, this is the example that we saw. That is, at the beginning we have a client, we have a server. The client is Alice, server is Bob. At the very beginning, the server will send a server key exchange message. Within the key exchange message, the server will generate a generator G, prime number P, as well as the server will generate his public key B, and he will generate his private key. Server will generate a private key B. His public key is nothing but G power B mod P, right? So this public key he will put inside the server key exchange message. So we assumed that P equal to 23 and G equal to 5. So after that, Alice will also create her own private key and she will calculate her public key using the same formula G power A mod P. She will send her public key in the client key exchange message, the public key A, right? So key exchange is actually happening in the server key exchange and client key exchange message. Okay. So only in these two messages the actual key exchange is happening. If you notice that actual key is not exchanged, only the public parameters are getting exchanged. Okay. Only the public parameters are getting exchanged. Both party will calculate the shared key on their own. Okay. Both party will calculate the shared key on their own using this formula. Okay. Using the respective formula, both will calculate their own short key. So the important lesson here is, as long as you don't change your private key, for example, if you for a given G and P, if you keep your private key as in our example, we consider the private key as A6, right? As long as for a given GP, if you don't change your private key, always you will end up with the exact same public key. Okay, you will always end up with the exact same public key. As long as you don't change the server do not change the private key, the server always end up with the exact same public key. If both Alice and Bob do not change their private keys, they both always end up with the exact same shared secret key. Okay, because they will end up with the exact same A and B, and hence because of the formula usage, they will both end up with the exact same secret key. In terms of security, this is not desirable. Okay, in terms of security, this is not desirable. This behavior we call it as a static Diffie-Hellman. Okay, this behavior we call static Diffie-Hellman. That is, you are not changing your private key. You are not changing your the client and server are not changing the private key. Because of that, they always end up with the exact same public key. Because of that, they always end up with the same shared secret key. Okay. So that means it is useless in terms of security. So if you do not change the moral of the story here is, if you do not change server private key, it will always end up with the same public key. Okay. You can actually notice that in reality, even though we have to use a very unique, for example, when Bob generates the generator G and public key P, not public key, the prime number P, typically you have to generate a different one, but in reality, generating a G and P is a very time consuming operation. Okay, generating the G and P will take several seconds. Okay, it will take several seconds, sometimes even take minutes, like 20 minutes also it can take. Okay, so most of the time what the server will do is, server will generate this offline and they just reuse this for all the incoming connections. Okay, they just reuse this for all the connections, they generate it offline. So let us see a quick example. Okay, for example, if you take there's a famous paper called research paper called Imperfect Forward Secrecy, How Diffie-Hellman Fails in Practice. Okay, this paper was published by the Karthikeyan Bhargavan et al. They are very famous in the TLS research. In that they mention that Microsoft Windows servers in the past, the SSL library is implemented in what is called a S channel. Okay, the SSL library is implemented in what is called S channel. So S channel catches the value of the Bob public key. That is, this G power B is nothing but B is a Bob private key. So Bob public key is nothing but G power B mod P. Okay, so this is acting as a public key. Microsoft S channel, it will reuse this for quite some time, at least for 2 hours it will reuse. Okay, at least for 2 hours it will reuse. That means it is not changing its private key for every single connection, it keeps reusing the thing. But what I observed in the recent days, Microsoft has changed this behavior in the server, and nowadays for every connection they are changing the key. Okay, but in the past they keep using their private key, and because they reuse the private key, the public key is also getting reused. Okay, F5 Big IP load balancer also has the same behavior. So let's see a quick demo of first demo. What we are going to see is, let us see GP, how the F5 Big IP is reusing the generator value G and prime number P for multiple connections. So what we are going to do is, we are going to open 10 brand new connections using a DHC cipher, and we are going to connect to a HTTPS server running at 10.16.100 port number 443. Okay, so we will connect using a DHC cipher. We can make 10 connections. If you will notice that in all the 10 connections, it will be reusing the G value and P value. Okay, for test purpose I am going to, you can use any web server, but here I want to show a demo, so I wanted to use what is called a F5 Big IP device. Okay, F5 Big IP device, but if you want you can test in some other software as well. For example, you can use a Windows software as well. Okay, so let's see a quick demo. Here I have a Ubuntu box. So this is my Ubuntu box, this is the client. Okay, on the client, let me see in which interface I have the 10.10. 10.10 is on the interface ENS192. So I have to make a packet capture on ENS192. So I have another Ubuntu terminal here. I need to run a sudo command for doing the TCP dump packet capture. So let me do a TCP dump minus H0 means capture the entire packet, do not restrict. For example, if you say S100, it will only capture 100 bytes. When I say H0, it will capture the entire packet. So the interface name is ENS. What is the interface name? ENS192. Okay, ENS192. I am going to restrict, I am going to only capture the host 10.10.16.100 to the port number 443. Okay, I am going to write the output in a file. So the file is going to be called, this is episode 22 dhe.pcap. Okay, episode 22 dhe.pcap. Okay, press enter, it will ask for password, so give the root password. Now on the client side, what I am going, before I do the packet capture, let me first go and connect one single time. Okay, I want to show you a demo. You can use OpenSSL command, and you can use sclient module on OpenSSL command. You can use connect 10.10.16.100 port number 443. You can also, first let's connect and see how it's getting connected. Okay, so let's just do the connection and see. So you notice that it got connected using TLS version 1.2, and it is using this particular DHC cipher. Okay, now I purposely want to use the same cipher, because sometimes different times if you connect, the cipher might change. I don't want the cipher to change, so I want to use the same cipher for all connections. So what I will do is, I will say sclient --TLS1_2. I want to use the cipher, hard code the cipher. Okay, I want to use only this particular cipher, I don't want to use any other cipher. So let's connect again. So I have to press Ctrl C to come out of the prompt, or what I can do is, I will pass a echo -n. Echo -n means send a new line character which will terminate the command prompt. Okay, which will terminate the connection and will return the command prompt. It will terminate the connection and return the command prompt. This is what I am going to do. I will run this for 10 times. How do I do that? For in, I write a shell script. For in 1 to 10, do what you have to do, run this command. Okay, run this echo command, OpenSSL command, then mean it will connect 10 times very fast. Okay, so if you notice this, it has connected 10 times very fast. Okay, so this is what I am going to do to connect 10 times. On the other side, I am going to make this packet capture. So on the other side, I will take a packet capture. So let me run this command for 10 times. Okay, let me run this command for 10 times. I have run this for 10 times. I will stop the packet capture now. Let me copy this packet capture on my local machine. Okay, because I want to show you in Wireshark. On my local machine, I am going to copy this packet capture. So I am going to copy this packet capture on my local machine. So now I will use the Wireshark episode 22 dhe.pcap. Okay, this is what I am going to open. So now I need to filter. Okay, you can filter using TLS. If you want to filter only the handshake, you can say TLS.handshake. Okay, but I want to filter only the server key exchange message where Bob is sending the parameter GP and public key. So let's open this packet. This is the server key exchange packet. So if you open this packet, you notice that the server key exchange handshake protocol, server key exchange TLS.handshake type. If you come down right, you will notice TLS.handshake.type is 12. 12 means server key exchange. Okay, so if you want to filter on command line, you can use this. Okay, you can filter on command line using this, and then if you look at the packet capture, you will see your G value 2, P value 2. If you look at G value is nothing but TLS.handshake.g. Your P value is nothing but TLS.handshake.p. The Bob public key is nothing but TLS.handshake.ys. Okay, S stands for server. For client it will be YC. Okay, if you look at the client key exchange, the Alice public key will be, this is the client key exchange, Alice public key will be TLS.handshake.yc, YC for client. Okay, so now let's filter using the command line. So let me stop this. I am going to run the tshark command line now. Tshark -nr. My file name is episode 22 dhe packet capture. Okay, I wanted to filter -y is a display filter. TLS.handshake.type equal to 12. TLS.handshake.type equal to 12 in a single quote you have to give. Okay, so let's filter this. It will only show the server key exchange message. It's showing multiple messages because I already told you in a single TLS you can have multiple TLS record. Okay, it can carry multiple TLS record. That's why you are seeing multiple messages in a single packet. That's fine for us. So now I want to print the value of G. For that you have to use the command -t fields -c. What you want to print is TLS.handshake.g value you want to print. Okay, so let's print the G value for all the 10 connections. All the 10 connections, the value is exactly same, right? It's reusing the G value. So you can actually use a sort command. Sort means arrange in alphabet order, and then you can find the unique number. It's a Unix command. For example, I can create a number file. Okay, in Unix I am creating a number file. I just type random number 10, 9, 8, 8, 2, 2, 2, 1, 1, 1, something like that. I am just creating randomly 3, 3, something like that. Okay, now I can sort this number. I can use the sort command to sort this number. By default, if I sort, it will sort like in a dictionary order. That is, after the number 1 it will start from 0. Like after ABCD it will use the second letter to do the sorting. But if you want the sort command to treat it as a number, you can use -n, so that it will treat it as a number and push back the 10 to the ending. Okay, now if you want to find the unique number out of this, you can use the unique command. Unique -c means count. Okay, if you just say unique, it will just count. But if you just say unique -c, it will show the unique record. The number 1 is repeated 4 times, the number 2 is repeated 3 times, the number 3 is repeated 2 times, number 10 is repeated 1 time, like that. Okay, left side show number of count, how many times it got repeated. Right side is showing the unique value in the input. Okay, I am going to use the same technique now to see this packet capture. Basically I will sort the output. I know this is a number, so I will say -n. Then I will use the unique command and I will say -c. Okay, so it shows there is a number called 2 used for 10 times. So all the 10 times it reusing the G value. All the 10 times it is reusing the G value. Now let's do the same thing for P. Okay, P is the prime number P. P is the prime number P. Here also you notice This is the prime number it is using. All the 10 times it is reusing the prime number p. All the 10 times it is reusing the prime number p. Okay. So that is the demo that we wanted to see. And the private key generation is a CPU intensive time consuming operation. Also the Diffie-Hellman domain parameter generation, it is also CPU intensive and very time consuming. Okay. Let us see a quick demo of how much time it is taking to calculate the DH domain parameter, which is nothing but your generator G and the prime number P generation. Okay. You can use the OpenSSL command to do that. So let's quickly see a OpenSSL example for this. OpenSSL, you can say dhparam minus output file name is dhparam.pem, key size is 2048. Okay. To find the time it is taking to run this command, you can actually, what you can do is, for example, let me type a command ls. So to show the ls command, if you want to see how much time it is taking, you can use the time command and then put ls. Okay. It will show to run the command it took 0.93 second, 0.093 second. Okay, that is 93 millisecond it took. Similarly, I can use the command ls to find the time, how much time it is taking. OpenSSL dhparam minus output file name is dhparam.pem, size key size is 2048 to generate the generator G and the prime number P. Okay, it will take some time. Oh, sorry, I made a mistake. OpenSSL dhparam dash out dhparam.pem. Oh, not ls. I need to give the time command. I did a mistake. I need to give the time command. So it will take some time. Okay. It is generating the prime number P, safe prime number P. Sometime it will just end in like 5-10 seconds. Sometime it can even take 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Sometime it can even take 20 minutes. That's why I told you GP generates a very time consuming operation. So practically it is not possible to generate GP for every single incoming connection. Okay. Every single incoming connection to generate this is not possible. So most of the servers, they generate it offline and reuse for multiple incoming connections. Okay. Just for practical reason. So it depends on our luck. Sometimes it just takes few minutes. Sometimes it just even take 20 minutes. I don't know how is my luck today. I don't know how long it's going to take for today. So let's wait. So today it took almost 49 seconds. Okay, almost 49 seconds to generate the G and P value. Because of such a long time consuming operation, it is not feasible to generate a unique G and P for every single incoming connection. That's why most of the servers generate the DH parameter offline and reuse it for multiple connection. As in the example we saw previously, all the 10 connections were using same G value and P value, right? So okay, this is the demo. Now what we are going to see is, I told you, as long as you keep the private key fixed for a given GP, then it is called static GH. Why? As long as you use your key fixed, your public key is always going to be same, because public key depends on the formula G power A mod P, right? If you don't change A, the public key also will not change. Similarly, let's say if you change this, automatically the public key will also change, because the A value is getting changed. Okay. As long as you don't change this, you will always end up with the exact same public key. Okay. So that's why we call it as a static Diffie-Hellman. So let's see in our packet capture what happens. In our packet capture, so what happened in our packet capture, where we ran the TL, oh sorry, I am in the wrong window. Now what I am going to do is, I wanted to print the public key value of Bob. Bob public key is nothing but YS. S represents server. Okay. S represents server. So in our case, you notice that there are 4 different keys. First key was reused for 3 times. Second key was reused for 2 times. Third key was reused for 3 times. And fourth key was reused for 2 times. That means server, for efficiency reason, it has a bunch of private keys, and because of that each private key will generate a unique public key. Those keys are getting reused. It has 4 private keys. The first private key generated this public key, this highlighted public key, and it got reused for 3 times. The second private key created this public key and it got reused for 2 times. The third private key generated this public key and it got used for 3 times. Okay, that means the server is reusing the private key as well. Okay, it has 4 private keys. That is the meaning of this output. Okay, and it got reused in the ratio 3:2:3:2. Okay. So as I mentioned, if Alice keep on reusing her private key and Bob keeps on reusing his private key, both will end up with the same public key, and because of that both will end up with the same shared secret key. Okay, so that means if somebody able to steal the secret, they can also decode the previous packet capture. So that is not providing the perfect forward secrecy. Okay, for example, but if you keep changing your private key, every time you keep changing your private key A1, A2, etc., and Bob should also keep changing his private key, both always end up with a unique public key. In those cases, what will happen is your shared secret will also be unique. Okay, your shared secret will also be unique. In such case, it is called ephemeral Diffie-Hellman. So the moral is, if you keep generating a fresh private key for each key operation, then it is called DH ephemeral. Ephemeral means lasting for a very short time. Okay, it can be represented using the notation EDH, or it can also be used. You can also use the notation DHE. Okay, so by default in the recent days, Windows changed their behavior by creating a ephemeral key every single time. Okay, in the past, Windows behavior was, even though we use ephemeral, Windows was reusing the key in the past. But nowadays we notice that Windows also behaving as a pure ephemeral. That means every single time it is changing the key. So let's connect to a Windows, but before that I wanted to show one more demo. In some software, for example in F5 Big IP load balancer, there is an option in the SSL profile called single Diffie-Hellman use. Okay, that means behave like a pure Diffie-Hellman ephemeral. That means every single time the server will change the private key. Every single time the server will change the private key. Because of that, the server public key will change every single time. Okay, that means it is behaving as a pure ephemeral. So let's quickly see a demo of that, and then we will see a Windows demo. Okay, so of course I understand the audience will not have this software. I will just show a demo from using the software that I have. Okay, so I have a F5 Big IP software here. It's a load balancer. So let me log into this device. In this device, the SSL parameters are controlled using what is called a SSL profile. Okay, so this is the SSL profile. So I am going to use the profile called test CLL here. I will turn on the advanced option. So if you come to the advanced option, you have your option here called single DH use, single Diffie-Hellman ephemeral use. Okay, so if you enable this option, you can see it is enabled. Single DH use is enabled. Now for every single connection, previously if you notice, it was reusing the public key, right? Now it will not reuse the public key. Every single connection, it will do is a brand new private key and hence brand new public key. Okay, so let me turn this on. So I will just update this. Okay, I updated this. Now let me go back to my server. So this is my server. On my server, I am just checking whether I am using this SSL profile or not. Okay, don't worry about all this configuration. We are not focused on how to use the Big IP device. We are only focusing on to see the ephemeral behavior here. Yes, I am indeed using this profile, SSL profile. Okay, so now let me go to the client and let me do the test. So on my client, this is my client 1. I need to use 2 client, right? This is client 1. So on my client, now what I am going to do is I need to change the IP address of this guy. It is 10.11.12. Oh no, sorry, it is still the same. 10.10.16.100. it's still the same. Okay, it's still the same. Here I need to do a fresh capture now. Okay, here I need to do a fresh capture, episode 22. Now single DHU dot pcap, single DHU dot pcap. Okay, I am starting the capture, and here I need to do the same command again. Okay, I am making 10 connection using the OpenSSL command line. I am making 10 connection. So it successfully made all the 10 connection. So I will stop the packet capture now. I need to copy this packet capture on my local box now. Okay, I need to copy this packet capture on my local box now. Episode 22 single star, just copy on my machine. So I copied this. Let me open this. No need to open. I can straight away run the command. So what we wanted to see now is, we wanted to see whether it's reusing the GP values or not. Okay, first let's see the G value. G value, of course, it is reusing the G value. All the 10 times it is using the G equal to 2. Okay, now let's see whether it's using the P value. Of course, it will reuse the P value as well. Okay, all the 10 times it is reusing the same P value. But now if you notice the public key, previously it was 3:2:3:2, right? It is using a 4 private key and 4 public key. It was reusing in this particular ratio, right? Now if you look at that, I am going to check the public key now. Oh yes, was the public key. Oh, something wrong. Am I using the correct file name? Oh sorry, I am using the wrong file name. That's the problem. I am using the wrong file name. Okay, I need to use the correct file name. So let me redo the whole thing. First I wanted to show the G. What happened to G? G is getting reused all the 10 times. So next I wanted to show the P. P is getting reused for all the 10 times. Next I wanted to show the YS. Okay, YS is the server public key. Now if you notice, all the keys only used one time. Okay, all the key only used for one time. That means every single time is generating a brand new private key, and because of that the private key, the public key is also getting changed. So all the 10 time it is using a unique key, right? All the 10 time it is using a unique key. So that is the effect of the single DHUS option. Okay, many software has similar option, but as I told, nowadays on Windows also, by default nowadays on Windows we have the exact same behavior. Okay, we have the exact same Diffie-Hellman ephemeral behavior on Windows as well nowadays. Now let's see a demo using the Windows 2012 R2 server. Okay, I am running a IIS and my IIS is configured to use HTTPS. Okay, so let's try to connect it. So I am going to use the IP address 10.11.12.1 port number 443. Okay, let's try to connect to the Windows server and observe the packet capture. So what I am going to do now is, let me go to the packet capture site. Let me prepare my packet capture filter. Okay, now here one small change is there. IP 10.11 interface is different. 10.11 interface is ENS160. Okay, ENS160. So I need to use ENS160 interface to perform the packet capture. And my IP address also has changed. My Windows server IP address is 10.11.12.1. Okay, I need to change my file name as well. So my file name I am going to say episode 22 WinDHE. Okay, I started the packet capture. Here on the client side, I need to use the same cipher. Only change I need to make is my IP address 10.11.12.1. Okay, so let me run the command for 10 times in a bash script. Okay, in a bash script I am running this command for 10 times. Press enter. So I ran the command for 10 times. If you notice, all the 10 times is reusing the exact same TLS 1.2 and using the same cipher. Okay, DHE cipher. Now I will come to my thing and stop the packet capture. So let me copy this packet capture on my local machine, on my Windows machine. Okay, so let me copy this packet capture on my Windows machine. My packet capture name is episode 22 WinStar dot. So now I have to run the same command and see what happens. Okay, so when you run the command, you don't forget to change the file name. My file name now is episode 22 win something. Okay, windhe.pcap. So let me see my G value first. What happens to my G value? My G value is getting reused for all the 10 times. But if you notice, something different happened. Previously we saw the G value as 02, but Windows has this stupid behavior. Because the size of the prime number is 2048 bit, it will also keep the size of this 2 as a 2048 bit number with all the prefix 0. Okay, the Windows has this stupid behavior of taking, instead of saving some bytes, it will take the G value as a 2048 bit and prefix it with all zeros. Okay, that's why you see all hexadecimal zeros here. Okay, so it's equivalent to writing 2 only, but it just has this I don't know whether it's feature or bug. It always use the G value as also as a 2048 bit number and prefix it with a lot of zeros. Okay, so the actual value is 2 only here. It is getting reused for 10 times. Okay, now let's see the value of the P of Windows 2012 behavior. Of course, on Windows 2012 it is reusing the P value for all the 10 times that we try to connect. Okay, now let's see the value of the Bob. Bob is the server. Server is OS. Okay, OS is the public key of the server. Public key of the server is completely ephemeral, meaning every single time it's using a unique public key. Okay, every single time using a unique public key. That means every single time it's using a unique private key. Okay, that is the meaning. If you see a repeated unique public key, that means every single time it uses a unique private key. So it is behaving as a pure ephemeral on Windows 2012 R2 server. Okay, that's what I wanted to show you on this episode. Okay, that is what is meant by the real meaning of ephemeral on Diffie-Hellman key exchange. And as I told you, this if you use a unique private key on both sides, you will end up with a unique public key on both sides, and hence you will end up with a unique secret. Okay, in this case, your connection is very secure. Nobody able to use your current key to decrypt any of the past packet capture. Okay. That property is called perfect forward secrecy. That is, if somebody somehow get this key, they should not be able to see any of your past packet capture. Okay, they should not be able to see any of your past packet capture. Unfortunately, the RSA algorithm has a drawback. If someone get the server private key, they can still go ahead and decrypt all the past packet capture. Okay, that's why RSA does not provide the concept of perfect forward secrecy. Only the Diffie-Hellman ephemeral and the elliptic curve Diffie-Hellman ephemeral provides this concept of perfect forward secrecy, meaning if your key is ever compromised, you should not be able to decrypt any of the past packet capture. Okay, in RSA this is not the case. Even if you have 10-year-old packet capture, one day if you get hold of the server private key, you should be able to see the content of this packet capture with the RSA. Okay, actually I can show you an example of that. For example, let me just show a random example. Okay, so I have a packet capture here. I have a old RSA packet capture. So let me open this packet capture. This packet capture is called MK's SSL basic flow. Okay, so this I know that it is a RSA packet capture. So let's take a look at this packet capture. I am going to filter it with TLS. Okay, TLS. If you look at the server hello, you will notice that it is using RSA for authentication. If you notice the server hello, you will notice that the cipher speed, you have to notice the cipher speed, it is using RSA. Okay, this means it uses RSA for authentication as well as RSA for the key exchange. Okay, it means because the key exchange parameter is missing on the cipher speed, I already told you if some parameter is missing, you should always assume RSA. Okay, so it is using RSA for key exchange as well as RSA for authentication. I already told you in past episode, when you use RSA for key exchange, this is a very old capture, but somehow I got the server private key. So any day if you get the server private key, you will be able to decrypt all the past packet capture. Okay, this is a very old packet capture, yet I will be able to decrypt it because I got the server private key. So that is the drawback. Someday, let's say if the government has copied all your past data, one day they can put a gun to the server admin and they can get the private key of the server, and they should be able to decrypt all the like last 20 years of data as well. In fact, some government are secretly doing this kind of thing. Okay, we will discuss that in another episode. So let me show, I have a private key of this very old capture now. So let me use the private key to decode. First of all, let me see, I wanted to show you that it is an encrypted packet capture. Okay, so here you see application data, you cannot see anything because it is encrypted. Okay, it say encrypted application data. Now somehow I put a gun to the server admin, I got the private key of this particular particular server. Okay, so what I will do is, I went to preference, I go to protocol, I select the TLS protocol. If you come here, there's a RSA key list. I will click the edit button, click the plus symbol on Wireshark. The server IP address is this guy. Okay, I need to put the server IP address here. my server IP address is 10.10.57.100. In this particular example, if you notice, my server is 57.100. Okay, so I will put my server IP address here. Then my server port number 443 is the SSL port number. Protocol is, my application protocol is HTTP. Okay, my key is, I am going to use the key. I have a key here, vs something, vs 55700 key.pem. okay, this is my private key file. So if you notice, this is my private key file. So let me show you the content of the key. Okay, oh, I think I cannot come here now because I am running Wireshark already. It doesn't matter. Let me open another command prompt. So let me go to my Dropbox, F5, Brownback, SSL, episode 22. Okay. Sorry, this is from a different directory. This is YouTube. Oh, it's not even here. YouTube, SSL, episode. Oh, sorry. Episode 22. And I have my private key file here. Okay, this is my private key file of this particular connection. So if you take a look at the private key file, let me open this on a notepad, vs blah blah blah. You will notice this is the RSA private key of the server, begin RSA private key blah blah blah. Okay, so that is what I am using to decrypt the packet capture. What I am trying to tell here is, even though this packet capture was done like 5 years before, almost it was done in 2016, but today only I was managed to get the private key of the server, but I still open the packet capture and decrypt it. So that means the government can simply make a copy of all your data for several years. One day they can put a gun to the server admin and they can get hold of the private key and they will be able to see your all the past secret. Okay, that is what we mean by not providing perfect forward secrecy. So if you want a perfect forward secrecy, nobody should be able to decrypt the past packet capture. Okay, here let's see what happened. So here, as soon as I gave the key, I should be able to see my packet capture. Okay, oh sorry. Okay, look at this. I am able to decrypt the packet capture. I am able to see the get request, HTTP get request. Now it is showing as a plain text. Okay, I am able to see the decrypted text now. This is the decrypted text. Okay, you can see decrypted TLS here. Okay, I am able to see the decrypted content of my get request. I am able to see the decrypted content, decrypted TLS, decrypted content of my HTTP 200. Okay, so this is the moral of the story. RSA does not provide the property called perfect forward secrecy. RSA does not provide the property called perfect forward secrecy, meaning any day if you get the server private key, you should be able to decrypt all your past packet capture which was using the same key. Okay, but this is not the case with ephemeral Diffie-Hellman. In ephemeral Diffie-Hellman, as I already told you, every single time you are using unique private key and hence your public key also unique, and hence you will end up with a unique secret key, so that if you get the secret key, you can only decrypt this particular packet capture. You won't be able to decrypt any of the past packet capture. Okay, you should understand this concept clearly. If you get hold of this secret key, you can only decrypt this particular packet capture. You cannot decrypt any of the past packet capture. This property is called perfect forward secrecy. Okay, so the beauty of the Diffie-Hellman ephemeral as well as the beauty of the elliptic curve Diffie-Hellman ephemeral is it provides this property called perfect forward secrecy, and hence everyone should start using only this key exchange. You should never ever use RSA for the key exchange going forward. Okay, in fact DHC is outdated nowadays because of the efficiency reason. It's not efficient. The whole world is moving toward elliptic curve DHC for efficiency reason. Okay, if you try to randomly connect to any server nowadays, by default it will use ECDHC. Okay, I will stop here for this episode. Thank you.